Hey everyone, thanks for joining us here on GoLocal Live at the Navigate Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm Molly O'Brien. Thank you again for joining us. We're here with Katie Mulligan. She's a registered dietitian nutritionist, and she's the owner of WellFamily Nutrition Coaching, where her business, she helps parents navigate the ups and downs feeding their children and helps families eat healthy on a budget. Katie, thanks for joining us again.
Thanks for having me.
So hopefully you had a nice holiday season. Happy New Year.
Thank you very much. I too.
Thank you so much. So we're excited. Last time you were here, you were helping us navigate the holiday season, all the goodies. Hopefully
right.
everyone out there did okay. I think I did okay.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, I think I did okay. So today we're helping people navigate plant-based eating.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to think of plant-based diets, that's okay. We kind of work our way around using that diet word.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that.
So you say plant-based eating. So we're going to help you kind of figure out that plant-based system. A lot of people for the new year might have those resolutions of healthy eating.
Mm-hmm.
One of them might be considering a plant-based diet or plant-based eating option. So you're going to help us today kind of talk about plant-based eating. Overall, what do you think people look at when they're looking at a plant-based eating or a plant-based diet?
Well, I think the first thing that people think about is that, oh, I don't want to become a vegetarian. Okay. So they immediately kind of go all the way down to the extreme end. Does that mean I have to be a vegan, a vegetarian? I can never eat meat again. I like saying plant-based because it is much more broad of a definition. So you don't have to pigeonhole yourself into one kind of vegetarianism. You can just say that I eat mostly plants most often, and you treat meat more as a condiment as opposed to the main part of your meal.
I think that's an excellent option. So, and there's so many benefits of plant-based eating.
Absolutely.
Talk to us. Let's kind of work our way through. We'll get through the benefits, and then we'll get through the different types of plant-based eating. Because like you said, some people think, okay, this is what I want to do, so they do one extreme, and then maybe they fail, or they realize how hard it is. So let's work our way through the different types of plant-based eating. You can explain a little bit about that, because like I said, a lot of people for the new year might think they need to get healthy, or they want to get healthy, and so this might be a good option for them. So let's work our way through that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there are multiple types of plant-based options.
Yeah.
So let's walk our way through this, what the different types of plant-based quote-unquote diets are.
Well, again, I like just the plant-based as the broadest definition. So there's a lot of people out there who are vegetarians, and most vegetarians will choose to eat still some animal products in the form of dairy and eggs. So if you're an ovo-lacto or lacto-ovo vegetarian, then you're eating lactose, so dairy products, and the ovo is the egg product.
Okay.
There are some vegetarians who eat only fish as the only animal flesh that they'll eat. And then, of course, there's the vegans that eat absolutely no animal products at all, including, no honey, no butter, nothing from an animal.
And some people, they won't use beeswax, they won't use silk,
or even wear
leather,
or wool or something. So again, I like the definition of plant-based as more of a broad definition. So you can still have some animal products. For instance, if I'm having a vegetable-based soup, but all I have is chicken broth, if I'm eating plant-based, I can still use chicken broth in my vegetable-based soup. Whereas if I were vegan or vegetarian, I couldn't even use chicken broth. So I like kind of keeping those broader definitions. And there's no strict terms as you have to have a certain percentage of plants in your diet. So I like to say just aim for, I'd say, about 3/4 of your plate from plant products.
Okay.
That doesn't mean the whole thing is veggies. You can have rice and pasta, quinoa, things like this. These are plant-based products. And then have a smaller portion of meat and kind of go it slowly. And we can get into that in a little bit. If you want to talk about the benefits, we can do that.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about the benefits, because there's so many different ways to look at this, and I think just maybe over the past couple years, people have started hearing more about vegetarianism, veganism. Even you look at Tom Brady, he's probably brought, more people, athletes, celebrities have brought more attention to plant-based eating, saying maybe they're going vegan or whatever. It's brought more attention to this. So there are multiple benefits to plant-based eating. So let's talk about the benefits. Where do you want to start? I think in your notes you had let's start with the cost-benefit analysis. You broke this down, and the research is really interesting.
Yeah, so there's research, actually local research. So I
Yeah.
pulled out the local research, which I like. There's a dietitian by the name of Mary Flynn. She's out of the Miriam Hospital. And she did a study, and she found that for a 1-week meat-based eating plan, it cost her users about $53 a week. And the plant-based eating plan cost about $39 a week. So that's a savings of about $750 a year. Now, people think that vegetables are the most expensive food on your plate, but in reality, pound for pound, meat is the most expensive thing on your plate. So immediately as you start cutting back on your meat portions and eating less meat, you're automatically going to save money. And that's a big one for a lot of people. Yes,
We like
two
saving
thumbs up.
money.
2 thumbs up, saving money is great. For other people, they like the environmental benefits, and that might be why some people are switching over. So to produce the plant proteins, it costs a lot less fuel, a lot less land, fertilizer, less pesticides, so it's better for the environment. Farming produces a lot of the greenhouse gases that cause some concern for a lot of people. So if more people switch to plant-based diets, we can save an enormous amount of those, greenhouse gases that everybody's so concerned about with regards to climate change. Switching to a plant-based diet is actually one of the biggest things you can do to combat climate change, believe it or not.
So interesting. So for whatever reason, if you're switching, and like you said, if you're just looking at plant-based, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to give up meat entirely, but just using it maybe as meat as the condiment,
Right.
or maybe like an appetizer,
Exactly.
which I think is so interesting. And when we look at savings, if you look into, let's see, her name is Dr. Mary Flynn. You mentioned
Yep.
she's the Rhode Island dietitian out of Miriam. Is that what you
Miriam
said?
Hospital.
Out of Miriam
Yeah, that's
Hospital.
right.
So you sent me over these notes, and I kind of looked at her research, and it's fascinating. So if you want, I can link it into our discussion.
Sure.
You look at this, and you look at oftentimes when people go out shopping, and if you're thinking about switching to a plant-based diet and you're worried about cost, you don't necessarily, and you and I have talked about this before, you don't necessarily have to go out and buy fresh fruits and vegetables.
Mhm.
You can incorporate frozen vegetables, which you mentioned are frozen at the peak of their freshness.
Right.
And that can that can increase savings and reduce costs, which you're going to get those nutrients.
Yes, exactly. And the plant proteins are things like beans, which are very, very low cost, especially the dried beans, but canned beans are as well. But even grains like farro and quinoa and rice, these have protein in them and some good protein sources. Nuts are a little bit more expensive, while they're an excellent source of protein, but you don't necessarily have to have huge quantities of those either. You can eat very small quantities of things like nuts, which are more expensive. So it really is, there's a lot of ways to save money. And then of course, we have the cost benefit, the environmental benefit, and then the health benefit of the plant-based diets, which is really another huge impact as with the other two.
Okay, so let's get into that. Let's talk about
Sure.
some of the health benefits. What are some things, so some people might be getting recommendations from their doctors to switch to plant-based, and some people might be switching on their own for whatever reasons. What are some things that we should look at? What are some of the health benefits of switching to a plant-based diet?
Yeah. Tons and tons of research has been done in this area as well. So we see much lower rates of cardiovascular disease when switching to a plant-based diet. People who tend to eat more plant-based meals tend to weigh less. And this is true for both adults and children. So it can be used to prevent and to treat obesity in adults and kids. Lower rates of cancer, especially colon cancer. We know colon cancer is very well associated with red meat intake. Prostate cancer and even breast cancer.
Wow.
So there's lots and lots of health benefits. Oh, and then of course diabetes management and high blood pressure. So there's so many reasons to move towards a plant-based diet if you're looking to improve your health, especially with the new year coming around. Health resolutions are such a big thing for people.
Oh yeah, and we're not saying that you have to give up meat entirely.
Right,
if you're
exactly.
a big meat fan, you're going to help us navigate our way through this. Okay, so if people are, maybe if we kind of sparked your interest on plant-based diets, walk us through maybe some either recipes or ways to get started incorporating more plants or more recipes, or how do we get started doing this?
So I like to just start simple. So think about what meals you're already eating as plant-based. Chances are there's a few meals that you have in your regular rotation that are already plant-based. So for instance, if you have vegetable soup with, bread or something one night and a salad, that's a plant-based meal. Even if you make it with chicken broth, it's still a plant-based meal. Even if you have pasta with beans and like some sauteed spinach, that's another plant-based meal. So there's probably a few of these that you're already having on a regular basis. Put those in more often. Take your bases, your soup, your pasta, and add some new different things, some new veggies, some new proteins, and so now you have a brand new meal. So take what you're already doing and just kind of capitalize on that. And then, of course, if you all you have to do is Google plant-based eating or vegetarian eating, you come up with hundreds of options. But so that you don't have to get too overwhelmed and you don't find a recipe that has 20 ingredients that you don't have in your pantry, I do have a few really simple ideas.
I don't know what any of that means.
I know, it can be really, really hard. I mean, you Google it, you have 50 million hits, and now where do you go? So I have a few other simple ideas.
Cool.
If you want me to run down the list.
Let's do it.
Okay, all right. So I have things like sweet potato and black bean quesadillas, which is a huge one in our house. We had it last night. Lentil soup is another big one.
Lentil soup is so good.
A vegetarian chili, even with the cornbread, would be great, really filling. Let's see, I have a vegetable stir fry, and so here's a good example of using meat as a condiment.
Okay.
So in my vegetable stir fry, I have like tons of vegetables. So say 4 cups of vegetables, 1 chicken breast for the whole family, and brown rice.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So we still get the chicken, but I've spread it out amongst everybody in the family, and we just have a lot of extra vegetables and then the brown rice.
Okay.
So that's the way to
So
use
what do
meat
you
as a condiment.
so for a vegetable stir fry? What are some of the things you toss in there? Do you do like sugar snap peas, like green peppers, mushrooms?
It's kind of like
everything
but the kitchen sink stir fry, right? I mean, so it's a great way to clean out your vegetable drawer.
Awesome.
So I have like a heel of onion and some red peppers, and then the leftover broccoli that it's too little to serve to the family. And then any frozen veggies I happen to still have in my freezer, it kind of goes all in the stir fry.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
and so just be able to, something that I like to consider, just being able to use every color possible. So just being able to incorporate that, and when you can have it on your plate, as many colors. I'm not sure who I was talking about with this, but being able to have every single color in your meal is like exciting and a challenge, right?
Yeah, that would be a really neat challenge. And that's a nice, fun, positive challenge too. Try to eat the rainbow and get the kids involved. That'll be a fun way to get kids involved.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so those were some ideas for you. Hopefully that can help. And then so we kind of talked about this, having meat as a condiment.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before on the show, is the MyPlate idea.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that. Yeah. So let's show MyPlate.
Yeah. All right. So we have the MyPlate here.
Because a lot of times in this country, we have huge portions. And so I think using MyPlate is a good example of not necessarily portion control, but learning how to resize our portions, and can help us with plant-based eating.
Right, exactly. So let's say you're not really totally convinced to give up your meats just yet. But you're gonna give it a try a little bit. So the protein portion on the MyPlate is just really small.
Okay.
Okay, so whether this is a meat protein or a plant-based protein, you can see that it's very small. So 3/4 of your plate is really plant-based. And of course your dairy can be from plants if you do soy, almond, or rice, something like that, or a pea milk is a new milk. And or it can be dairy-based, animal-based.
Have you
like
had
cow's
that?
milk.
It's not bad.
The pea?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I haven't tried it yet, just because I have to get all the way to Target to get it.
I know.
I haven't seen
There's
it
a lot of
anywhere
sugar
else.
in it.
But it's supposed to be very high in protein.
Yeah, there's like 8 grams of protein.
Yeah, whereas your almond milk and your rice milks
They have
aren't so high in protein.
Nothing.
Right, exactly. So keep it small.
Okay.
Is the point here. So if you are going to have some meat-based protein, keep it small.
Okay. I like this idea. Yeah, you know what I've been doing lately, not that anyone cares about what I have for dinner, I just make a huge salad with as many things as possible, and then I have like a piece of fish.
Yeah.
And just throw it in the bowl, and it fills you up for dinner.
Yeah, and that's still plant-based.
Yeah.
The fiber in the vegetables is going to keep you full. So you don't necessarily have to have meat to keep you full. Any kind of protein source is going to be a satiating nutrient, and then of course the added fiber from all the vegetables is going to aid to keep you even more full.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about, and this was always kind of a concern for people, and I think it's getting easier and easier to switch over to plant-based diets for people who are choosing to be vegan. I think it's a lot easier, but I think a long time ago it was a little bit harder to get key nutrients. It was a little bit harder to get access to different things. And a lot of people, not a lot of people, but sometimes if you said, oh, I'm going to be a vegetarian or I'm going to be vegan, people didn't necessarily do it the right way.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, you just eat pasta all the time.
Yeah,
or you just,
yeah, exactly.
exactly.
That's what they really become, yeah.
Exactly. I think it's easier and there's a lot more knowledge about it and ways to do it the right way. There's different products and whatnot. What if you are choosing to be vegan or to be vegetarian or to go all plant-based, what are some key nutrients that you need to make sure that you're getting so that you are continuing to be healthy?
Right, exactly. So believe it or not, protein is not a problem.
Okay.
So people often think, well, what are you going to eat for protein? Protein is not a problem. Vegans, vegetarians, plant-based eaters are not deficient in protein any more than a meat eater.
Okay.
So in general, Americans are not deficient in protein in general. Let's just put that out there. So protein is not a problem. Iron, though, is going to be one that you want to worry about if you are a vegetarian or eating more plant-based proteins. But the good news is that your body becomes better at absorbing that plant-based iron.
Interesting.
So the less you have, your body becomes more efficient at absorbing it. So that's the good news.
Interesting.
Also, remember, all our cereals and bread products are iron fortified. And of course, there's iron in things like dark leafy greens and beans. And like I said, your body's going to become better at absorbing that kind of iron. Now, you are going to have to find good sources of calcium.
Okay.
Calcium isn't always very well absorbed from the plant sources, but foods like kale and the Napa cabbage, also called the Chinese cabbage, those are good sources of calcium. And a calcium supplement might be good if you have a hard time getting those plant-based sources of calcium in.
Okay.
And then for vegans, the one nutrient that they absolutely have to worry about is vitamin B12 because that's only found in animal products. So they do have to have fortified cereals or grains, or they have to find a reliable B12 supplement in the form of a pill.
Okay, so those are some things. Anything in particular with kids that you should be, are those like the main ones with kids, or is there anything that kids should be maybe upping on if parents are looking to eliminate meat as a source of anything?
No, so it's going to be the same nutrients, the same for the kids. Yep. And a vegetarian, vegan diet, as long as it's well planned, can be perfectly healthy for children.
Okay. Okay, that's good to know because I know some parents are choosing to go that way with their children as well.
And if you have any questions, the best thing to do is contact a registered dietitian for information.
Definitely. Katie, this has been awesome. So much fun. Also, you are giving a talk, so if parents are interested, coming up January at Warwick Library, right?
January 13th, Saturday morning at the Warwick Library. Yep.
Awesome. So you can find her there, and I'll put that information on our website as well. So Katie Mulligan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Hope to have you come back soon. Please, everyone here on GoLocal Live, stay tuned as we get ready for our next guest.